Hi, everybody. Welcome to the June 1st, 2018 edition of Colorado Inside Out Postgame, a special web-exclusive production here on Channel 12. I'm Dominic Dezzutti. Let's get to it. Let's get a quick take on oil and gas, natural gas company Anadarko Petroleum announcing this week that they are closing the Third Creek natural gas delivery system based on safety concerns. While the company says the two are unrelated, the announcement comes 1 week after a settlement from the house explosion in Firestone situation that happened about a year or so ago. Pat Calhoun from Westward, I will take a company at its word that the two are unrelated. There were some references to the Third Creek delivery system before the explosion happened, but a week's notice, weeks in between each one seemed a little too coincidental. Maybe I'm being cynical. What do you think?
Well, and it wasn't just the week. It was that a year ago in April, we had had the fatal, for two people, explosion in Firestone because of problems with the old wells that they hadn't realized were there.
It's an uncapped well,
Yeah,
right?
the uncapped wells. So that they just had forgotten. And then we had to do the whole study of all the other wells that might have been forgotten in Colorado. So, and then last week we did have a settlement, and we still have ongoing legal action, of course, and we have two former Anadarko employees who have given some pretty damning testimony about what the company has been doing in ignoring safety issues. So very smart that they did this publicly. And they didn't need to protest too much because we all know there's a connection, and it's all connected to last April and 2 deaths.
David Kopel from the Independence Institute and DU Law School. You're one of our two esteemed lawyers at the table. When you see this, I mean, is it easy for folks like me who have never been in a courtroom for this kind of situation, I don't know anything about settlements and these kinds of decisions, to link the two? Or is that fair because of the timing?
I think you could be a little more cynical here. I mean, obviously, the April 2017 explosion, that should have been prevented, and the fortunate thing is lots of companies have now been, as Patty said, doing checkups on old wellheads. What they closed this week was not a wellhead. It wasn't even their own gas. It was, they had a system which distributes gas from other producers' wellheads into the system, about 30 producers. It's a fairly small part of the whole distribution system. The producers say, you're not closing this for safety, you're just doing this to put the economic screws onto us. And there were other companies that were willing to buy this distribution system, and you wouldn't sell it to them. And then when Anadarko says, oh, we're closing it for safety, and reporters say, oh, what particular safety concerns did you have? They won't say. So this strikes, closing the distribution system strikes me as more of a business decision running under the pretext of safety.
So cynicism is appropriate, but it's placed in maybe a different reason.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Eric Sonner, political analyst. Anything associated with natural gas and oil exploration in Colorado is always going to make headlines. It's a major part of our economy. You talk to people in Weld County, you're going to talk about folks who actually work at these kinds of wells and other companies, but you also have people who are very passionate about the other side of it. When you see something like this, is this something that's going to spark more conversation, more controversy as we move forward to an election day?
Well, there's plenty of spark already. I think if you flash back to 2013, 14, 15, this issue was white hot or red hot, pick your preference, in Colorado. It seemed like it lost a little bit of steam over a couple years, mainly just because the price of gas was down, so the intensity of the exploration and the drilling was not what it was. But the price of gas is now heading back up. You have this broader narrative that we talk about on a weekly basis around this table of the growth in the state. Weld County itself, where a lot of this, it's certainly not the only place, but a lot of this is centered, is growing very rapidly, which means increasing interface between residential growth and or school buildings or whatever it is, and fracking operations. So it fits that narrative. Obviously, you had the explosion 13 or 14 months ago, which catalyzed a lot of it. So I think this issue, having been a little lower on the totem pole of issues for a couple years, it is going right back up to the top of that totem pole of issues. The New York Times did a significant story on sort of the fracking issue nationally and the tensions it's brought about. But the center of that story was Weld County, Colorado, and one particular school serving mainly Latino and some African American kids that is 800 some feet from a significant new fracking pad. We'll be talking more about this one.
Penfield Tate, attorney with Q-Tech Rock, also a longtime state lawmaker. Penn, both sides of the natural gas and oil exploration issue have bases. You know, a strong Republican base within folks who are part of the industry or support it. You know, a strong progressive base that can speak to that they're against fracking in any way. When you see headlines like this, do you sense that something could be coming down the pike that would want to try to tap either one of these bases as we get closer to the 2018 election?
Yeah, and the signs are already there. I mean, I'm cynical about what Anadarko did and why, but I'm equally cynical when I always see these TV commercials that target white suburban housewives with 3.4 kids who are playing in a backyard talking about, I love fracking because it gives me cheap, affordable gas and it's safe and pure and clean. And there's no scientific basis for any of this stuff. This dispute is going to continue. And some years ago, I challenged the enviros in the industry. If you want to come to some resolution on this issue, someone's got to produce somehow some definitive scientific support for the proposition, either that it's a danger and we need to regulate it more, or that it's not dangerous and it's just business as usual. I'm becoming convinced that neither side wants to do that because they're afraid that whatever research they sanction is not going to support their proposition or their point of view, which seems odd. But we're going to continue to have this debate, so we're going to have these warring factions, and the growth in the state simply makes it more difficult because you can't escape the drilling and exploration operations. And you've got the environmental justice concern overlaid on it. The New York Times article was appropriate. Not only do you have the one facility within 828 feet of a predominantly minority elementary school, but it was put there after it was originally sited in a white neighborhood and the parents there objected to it and forced that it be moved. So you've got all of that going on too.
That is all the time we have for CIO Postgame this week. Leave us a comment, tell us what you think. For everyone here at CPT12.org, I'm Dominic Dezzutti. Thanks for watching.